Okay, so I chose not to make this review a long one, for two reasons. Firstly, the game isn't that long. I beat it in 3.5 hours, and it's fairly padded out with the fact you're constantly returning to town. Secondly, there isn't that much to this game by ways of things that actually happen, and there isn't a great deal to see. So I decided to keep it somewhat more broad and not spoilersy, as my criticism can be adequately explained without belabouring the point. So here we go. Steamworld Dig is a 2D platforming mining adventure, which according to the developers Image-Informed Games, has strong Metroidvanian influences. It does a lot of things well. The first thing you'll notice about this game is that it looks and sounds great. Visually, it's got a beautiful hand-drawn style, and a well-employed lighting system. As far as the sounds, the mining activities are spot on, and the music, well, it speaks for itself. Story-wise, the game has the charm you'd expect these days out of a polished indie game. The characters in the game make robot sounds in lieu of actually talking, and they all get on with you really great because the narrative involves you making their shitty town prosper. The gameplay is responsive, and little things like learning you can mine blocks with the pickaxe over a hole and while standing on a ledge give the feel the developers wanted you to feel comfortable and unrestrained in the game space. It's also worth mentioning that the Wii U specific gamepad screen is great. It displays the map, your coinage, and your minerals just as it did on the touchscreen of the 3DS. Put at its most basic, the game involves you navigating downwards and progressing into increasingly foreign territory. You upgrade your kit to break different types of dirt, mine minerals that increase in value as you go down, upgrade your kit again as your wealth grows exponentially, and attain upgrades to your platforming capabilities through segments within caves that are vaguely story-driven. The upgrades found in the caves are great. You unlock amongst other things a high jump and the ability to run. By the end of the game, you're equipped to fly around the world with speed and precision much greater than you start with. This is where problems come in, however. The game just isn't deep. The combat isn't kinetic at all, and you get hurt easily. The end result is that dying just feels like an inconvenience. In fact, I can only think of two enemies that were actually fun to come up against. One starts appearing in the last third of the game, and the other is the final boss, which is the only boss. Everything ties together in an underwhelming fashion. You get all of these upgrades to make your character capable of undertaking complex platforming scenarios, and then there aren't any. You experience a puzzle that in retrospect is really easy, but I enjoyed because I overcomplicated it massively, and then the idea of optional puzzles is seemingly abandoned. The mandatory caves pretty much solely consist of navigating a linear and moderately easy path, pulling a lever or breaking something, and walking back to the entrance. Given the mining theme, the blocks have properties like being able to break through weaker blocks if they're given momentum, and there are wooden structures that are passable but indestructible. They manage to completely avoid doing things that would engage your brain, despite the fact that re-entering a cave is easily done and resets the area. The result is a game world that looks great, and has a protagonist that interacts with it masterfully. But the level design is lackluster, the combat is better off avoided, and the desire to walk off the beaten path is quickly eroded by the lack of interesting things to discover, or even things to do full stop. I had a pretty strong urge to be more specific about what worked in this game, because I did like a lot of what it had to offer. It was a decent experience. But by showing you the few things that endeared it to me, I would have taken away the magic of one of the few things it captures. The sense of discovery it creates just about makes it worthwhile. Personally, the charm and polish wasn't enough to hide the fact that this game is basically just a beautiful piñata, full of grapes or something, and who wants grapes on their birthday? So that's all. Hopefully you appreciated the shorter format. I'll probably be using it for a bunch of games that don't warrant a more in-depth discussion. As usual, liking, commenting, sharing and subscribing are all things that I'm grateful for. Check out my other videos if you haven't, and let me know what you think.